What's going on, Five Stripe fam? We have a very special guest to help us preview the match this weekend. It's always great to collab with fellow content creators in the soccer space, and we welcome a DC United fan between clean sheets, aka Cheyenne. Cheyenne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm finally looking forward to seeing DC and Atlanta play each other this year.
Indeed, it's always a spicy contest. We always play each other pretty tough. You guys have gotten some on us. We get some over on you. 2017 was just really dark time for us in terms of playing you guys. But, it's gotten a little bit better recently. But let's kind of talk about, first off, your moniker. It's very interesting, Between Clean Sheets. How'd you come up with the name?
I had every intention of filming videos not immediately after games or previewing games, but in the middle of the week to give me a little bit more time to talk about the league and DC United. So I was thinking, well, I'll be filming between games. I'll be putting out content between weekends. So Between Two Ferns was kind of in my mind. I'm certainly not as funny as Zach Galifianakis, but Between Clean Sheets came up, and I was so excited a number of years ago. I posted my first video on Reddit, and I can't tell you how many people were disappointed that it wasn't a porn channel. But a couple people stuck around and have kind of watched me ever since. And I love talking about the growth of the game, and have family, very close family living in Atlanta. So Atlanta United is a game that I attempt to make and have made almost every year, going down to Atlanta and hosting at Audi. So it's unfortunate I didn't get to spend 4th of July in Atlanta this year, but we're making the most of it. We're trying. So this weekend will be the first and maybe only matchup, if I remember the schedule correctly. But
yeah, you're correct. Yeah, it's It's great that you do circle it on your calendar every single year. But I am very curious as well. I haven't really asked a DC United fan before. Do you really consider this a rivalry, or is it just another game in terms of for the teams in the clubs together?
I always joked, and I think everyone did, that we really had Atlanta United's number when you guys first started in the league. It seemed as well as you guys played on both sides of the country, DC was always beating Atlanta. And I kind of felt some superiority in that, but it was one of those things where you got your first inaugural season out of the way, and then you just utterly destroyed. So DC has been around for a really long time, and we've got the history, and we have had and fielded a pretty decent team year to year. But when we are struggling across the season, it's hard to poke your head out of the sand and think about what it means to play Atlanta, just because no matter what, you're always a Titan. So I will say the rivalry this year, if we're going to consider one being in existence, is we're both fighting for the bottom of the table, really.
Yeah, that wooden spoon.
Honestly, yeah, I think it's nice that they've expanded the number of teams that can make it into the playoffs this year. But even then, neither one of our teams really have a ton to be proud of. DC less so than Atlanta, but I still think we're not that we're evenly matched on the field. We do have a very different approach to the game, both clubs. But I do think that as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned, it will be a good match to see how bad we really are.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely.
I gotta be honest.
Right. No, for sure. No, it's definitely kind of a test the other way of it's not a test of might. It's a test of really how bad we really could be, really relatively,
right.
Because it's
survival skills.
It really is. It definitely is. What do you think the state of the club is at the moment in terms of your eyes and as a fan base? What's the feeling around the team right now?
Well, you guys had a little bit of this earlier this year with DeBoer, and it was actually refreshing. As much as you guys have kind of struggled through this season, you at least understood you needed to make a coaching change. For DC, I think that they're finally wrapping their minds around the trouble with our leadership and with Ben Olsen. As much as I really love the guy and I understand he's got passion for the team, played for the team, has been around for so long, it's really hard to make excuses at this point. And Stephen Goff, a writer for Washington Post who's been profiling and following the team for a number of years, had an anonymous source reach out to him last week saying that Ben Olsen is really in the scalding hot seat, he said, and that it was no longer just about surviving and hopefully making it into the playoffs this year. It really was about taking it honestly half by half. So when we lost to New England over the weekend, I thought for sure I would wake up on Monday morning with a Frank DeBoer type announcement that Ben was out, and he's still here. And I find that not necessarily surprising, because I think that they've given him so many chances, so they'll continue to do so. But I would be very surprised if in the offseason something doesn't happen. So we are definitely in, like I said, survival mode for the rest of the season. And he was quoted in saying that between now and the beginning of November, MLS and the parity that exists just by nature of how our league is set up, we are in a position where we can change our fate. But to even be where we are right now, winless in the last 5 games, I think we've won 1 game since the MLS's back tournament ended. And that's just a really sad spot to be in. So it's bleak. I again have to be honest, and I understand that they're doing the best with what they have, but it really does need to change.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty. But it's in terms of expectations going in, was it higher than this? Was it you guys expecting to be like maybe mid-table? Like, what was the expectation going into the season?
Well, DC seems to shoot mid-table every year.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and this is great. We're having a conversation previewing this match. Julian Gressel was a huge signing, in my opinion, in the offseason. And we've got a number of strikers, pure strikers, goal scorers that we've signed and brought on to not necessarily replace Wayne Rooney, but to maybe get someone who can just play up top and finish a ball that a guy like Julian Gressel would give him. And it seems to me that the strategy that I've noticed over the past couple of years, which is find guys who play well and hope they play well together, isn't working out at all this year. So it's more apparent than ever that despite the individual talent, we just aren't clicking. So to finish in the middle of the table would honestly be great for Ben Olsen, because I think it would keep his job. He would continue to enjoy the job security. But you can't end a year like this at the bottom and not expect somebody to notice. And I will say the fans have definitely noticed, and that I will say I haven't always been on board, and maybe I'm not right now, but I haven't always been on board with the Olsen out hashtag that has existed for a number of years. But I'm starting to understand why those fans feel that way. So it's a tough spot, but it sucks to be at the bottom of the table. Nobody wants that. So
definitely nobody wants that, but we're, as Atlanta United, we're inching closer to that distinction as well, unfortunately. But speaking of kind of the kind of relatability between both clubs right now, definitely there are some names that kind of bring up some memories. Yamil Asad, Chris McCann. You spoke about Julian Gressel, of course, as well. How's Julian Gressel doing for you guys, and Yamil Asad, really, in that mind? But in terms of that big expectation coming into the season, and so far it's been maybe not the returns that you guys want.
Right. So the first couple of games of the season before the pandemic hit, Ben Olsen was playing Gressel in the middle. And I don't think that's where he's meant to be. He runs up and down the side and is really great at distributing from that side of the field, and also dumping balls into the box. And you can't really do that when you have to control more of the field in the middle. And that was a frustration of mine. So during the MLS's back tournament and in the past few games, there have been improvements in that regard. I've seen Yamil Asad gain a significantly larger amount of confidence on the field, which is really nice to see. I think for whatever reason, he's been very timid. And then Julian Gressel, although he didn't start last game, which I found interesting, he has done a much better job playing right mid. So we haven't yet connected those crosses or completed plays from start to finish. But if I had to find a silver lining in the dark cloud, I would say at least having Gressel on our team is progress to me.
So speaking of another player that has donned both kits before, Bobby Boswell, one of the rare ones to go to our side instead of from ours to yours, just very randomly the other day spoke about Darlington Nagby and Atlanta United in a tweet, and I thought it was very interesting. Wanted to get your thoughts. He said in tweet, today a neighbor's kid was wearing an Atlanta United Darlington Nagby shirt, and I said, quote, did you know I used to play for that team? He responded, yeah, but not really a lot, though. So I'm not sure if he lives in D.C. still or is maybe in Atlanta. But, I mean, what are the what's the feeling about, Bobby Boswell? Is he as much of a cult hero in, in D.C. as much as he is in Atlanta?
Oh, yeah. I think the cult status is manifests in different ways in DC than it does in Atlanta. He was just the rock of our defense, center defender for years with us after coming from Houston. And it made that back line incredibly strong and really made, I think, Bill Hamid also a better goalie. It's interesting to me that for him to end his career in Atlanta and to basically go from the crumbling wreck that is RFK to like the Sims MLS stadium that is Mercedes-Benz. I can't even imagine what that kind of shift was like for him, especially to happen again at the tail end of his career. But what makes him, in my opinion, a cult in Atlanta is his personality really started to shine. It was one of those, I'm winding down as a player, and I really don't have to worry about saying or doing the right things. So now that he kind of exists in this retiree capacity, I feel like he's just been so much more sassy online and honestly far more enjoyable, again, as a personality than I think I would have realized. But a senior guy like that with kids, just played years and years in a league that hasn't always seen experiences like playing in a packed out Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to just then end his career. I just imagine he was in the locker room telling people like, you guys know we took a bus from Houston to Dallas, right? Like we had
you guys have way too good
of
here.
$10. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, you guys know that this is amazing. Like this never happened for me. So yeah. I really like him. And I think for me, having moved to DC, maybe also toward the tail end of his career, didn't get to enjoy him as much as I would have liked. But I definitely know that he left a huge mark in DC. So.
Yeah, and likewise in Atlanta, at least on Twitter for the fans anyway. But I'm glad you spoke about Mercedes-Benz Stadium and how it's a Sims in terms of FIFA possibly. But so obviously you have been able to catch games there, and of course I believe you are a season ticket holder at Audi Field with DC United, right? Well, I pose to you the very tough question. Of course, obviously, I suspect you're going to choose one way or the other, but which is the better stadium experience, Mercedes-Benz Stadium or Audi Field?
I almost want to say it's like apples and oranges, but that's such a cop-out answer. There is something that attracts 75,000 people to a place like MBS, and I don't think, save for the first game at Audi Field, I don't think we've packed out our stadium. And there is a quintessential MLS stadium, and I think Audi Field is that. It's open. It has the average number of seats for a soccer stadium in America. It has a personality. I mean, we've got Jose Andres, renowned chef that lives in D.C., who designed the menu, and we've got a field level experience and a club level experience that a lot of other soccer stadiums have in America. Obviously, Mercedes-Benz was built first for the Falcons and second for soccer. I think it does both beautifully.
Whoa. They were both in mind, just
right
for the record.
Right, but yeah. I mean, if the Falcons weren't there, they would not have built Mercedes-Benz that way. But the thing is, it makes for a soccer experience unlike anything else in this country. So I honestly think that opportunity has allowed Atlanta to really just push the envelope in so many ways. And I think that when I'm talking to people who really like European soccer and are thinking they might get into MLS, I always recommend that if they do find themselves in Atlanta, that they absolutely have to go to a game. Now, that was a recommendation made when the team was in top shape. I would probably still recommend it, even if they weren't. But for DC, we're still trying to figure out what we look like or what we feel like at Audi Field. And I think we have a little ways to go. But I do think that they're different experiences. I've never had a season ticket at Mercedes-Benz, but my ticket at Audi is a club level ticket, which is so fancy. But I feel like it's really affordable for a professional team or a professional sport in America. So I've tried to take advantage of it and have enjoyed it to the best of my ability. But to watch my home team, I would obviously pick Audi. But again, I don't go a single conversation without recommending an experience at Mercedes-Benz.
Love to hear that for sure. And yeah, I haven't been to Audi Field, but I've seen photos, I've seen video, and like the sight lines is just how the design is. Like I'm actually kind of like
it's great.
Wishing we could have actually incorporated a little bit of that little bit of flavor, but yeah. I'm definitely for Audi Field as well, but thank you for the kind words about the Benz for sure. But yeah, let's get into the game then. I mean, in terms of the dangermen for DC, if one could say that, I guess, because both teams are really just pretty anemic in the attacking department. But are there players that we should particularly look out for that would maybe put the ball in the back of the net against us, or just players in general?
Yes, players in general, I would definitely say we've got our youngsters, our homegrown players, Griffin Yao, who just turned 18, and Moses Nyman, who both of them play in the midfield, and Moses is, I believe, just barely 17. Those guys have already caught the attention of Greg Berhalter, men's national team coach, and they are honestly making the absolute most of this season. So I expect for them to get the start and would recommend that you watch them. They'll be the ones that'll build the plays as far as up top and the guys who will finish those goals or put the ball in the back of the net rather. We've got Reyna, who just transferred from Vancouver, who I've noticed in his first start last week against New England really did a lot to finish in the final third. And try to put shots on goal, but also did a phenomenal job of getting back and defending when we needed it, which we will need it. So my expectation is he'll get another start, and with Ola Kamara having scored a goal without having to do it in a PK, doing that last Sunday, I definitely think that the two of them will use that increased confidence to probably come at the goal in a more aggressive way than we've seen them. So I have a little bit more faith in us going into this game than I would have in the past few games, but I still do think we're going to struggle to complete some plays. Again, being brutally honest.
I mean, I think likewise with us, I think we'll probably struggle with Reina and Kamara as well because of, the kind of makeshift defense that we've had to deal with. And so
Right.
in terms of your, maybe predicted lineup for DC, what do you think is going to happen? It seems like they've been playing a 4-4-2 recently. What do you think is going to happen on Saturday for them?
Yeah, they've been playing a 4-4-2 for teams like Atlanta, teams that aren't going to jump down the field super quickly or high press. And I feel like it's going to be a pretty slow game, if I had to guess. I do think that as much as Ben Olsen has switched the lineup around, we probably, like I said, will see Reina and Kamara up top. A variation of midfield, but my guess as I prepared for this was still Yamil Asad on the left. Moreno has been proving himself to be pretty useful in mid, and I do think Moses or Griffin Yao will definitely continue getting the starts. Our youngsters have proven themselves, rather. Mm-hmm. And though Julian Gressel didn't get his start in the last game, I do see him making his way back. And our back line, for the most part, now that Steve Birnbaum, our captain, is back, I do see him and Frederick Briant, who have paired together really well, will definitely start in center defense. And I'm unsure about who will be left and right back, but if I had to guess, I think they'll bring Donovan Pines back, who's been a great defender for us on the right side, and then Joseph Mora, who more than proved his place in the starting lineup last game, and honestly the past few games. So we'll see. The beauty of this new setup with 5 subs is that it shifts a lot at halftime, and I think we'll see the left and right flank look very different in the last half or second half of the game. So I think that's where we're going to start. We'll see if you guys get lucky and bang some goals in. We might have to completely readjust.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been, I think, a problem for both clubs at the moment. For us, I mean, we actually high pressed the last couple matches, and it was pretty effective against FC Dallas, but against maybe a team that I would assume you guys probably would sit back a little bit more, maybe more in a low block, try to, maybe hit us on the counter. I would suspect that it'd be a little harder for us to maybe break you guys down, as it's usually always at against DC United. I mean, it's gonna be, I think, possibly a slogfest in that sense, because energy levels. I mean, we do have a week. I don't know how many. Yeah, you guys have a week as well, probably. So it's gonna be very interesting if the energy levels can be what the fans want it to be, for sure. But with all that being said, let's get into the predicted score lines for both of us. What do you think?
I was gonna say either 0-0 or 1-1. Either way, I think it's gonna be a draw, which is so.
It's
as sweet as I can be.
I unfortunately agree as well. I think it's probably going to be a 0-0. I'm going to be very on brand with your moniker here between clean sheets. It's definitely going to be a difficulty to find the back of the net for both squads, just because just the nature of not having a lot of goals in these starting 11s really. But you guys may look a little bit more capable than we are, actually, and I'm actually deathly terrified of that, because losing. Yeah, to be honest, if we lost to the to the bottom team in the Eastern Conference, it's there's
problems.
Depths of this. There's
huge
depths of this.
Problems.
For
sure. And I almost joked. I'm going to say this out loud. Maybe I'll regret it, but I almost joked to a friend of mine who's a New England fan that I was actually kind of glad that they beat us, because again, this point needs to be driven home that change needs to be made. So however that happens, I don't want any sort of fluke win like we had against the Red Bulls the other day. I don't want any of that to trick somebody in charge into thinking that we're doing the right thing right now.
Right.
So,
yeah, because any team can really get lucky against another team in this league. There's that much parity day to day, night to night, but it definitely is. Yeah, I'm sure if you guys want change, you don't really want the head or the front office to really just think, oh yeah, everything is fine. But
Right.
So anyway, thank you so much, Cheyenne, for joining me
Absolutely.
on the show. Please let us know where the good people can find you on the internet, and if you've got something that you're working on that is coming out soon.
Yeah, I am on Twitter and Instagram at BtwnCleanSheets, and I post videos, longer videos on YouTube, also under the name Between Clean Sheets. I actually recently filmed an update on my season ticket membership because I've got a hunk of money, unused credit on my account that I have figured out what to do with for next season. So wanted to give people a bit of a look into what the club level membership has been like for me. So that'll be out soon. And in the meantime, please talk smack, offer condolences, give me your thoughts on the game. I'm around. I hang out on Instagram and Twitter a lot, so I'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure if we can somehow any of our teams get a W, then I'm sure there will be some smack talk for sure.
Oh,
But
yeah.
hopefully, yeah, one of us does, because yeah, Slogfest, not in my idea of fun for sure. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video, or I will anyway. But you can see her on her channel. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.